project that I worked on when I started my fellowship was with Miss Shirley, who is a homeowner in East Biloxi whose home was completely destroyed during Hurricane Katrina. It actually got knocked off its foundations half block down the street. And it was also the project that I worked the most closely with the homeowner on, which is a really kind of meaningful process, and also created a better product than designing in a vacuum. The process started by just having these kind of weekly meetings with Miss Jackson and just running through the typical kind of programming phases, the early design phases. And really what this was about was establishing a comfort level. And it took actually a long time for her to tell me what she didn't like in the design process, which was the moment where everything kind of changed, because it really began to guide the design. When she was comfortable enough to say, you know what, I really don't think that that's something that I would use, or that's something that really kind of suits my tastes, we were able to come to a solution much more rapidly. The Gulf Coast Community Design Studio is great at engaging homeowners in a meaningful way and looking at broader projects from a design perspective in a really considerate one.
For us then, Seth is here with 13 other design professionals. So in a way we have it easy here because the sort of design environment is what we have. Seth has contributed enormously to that. I mean, Seth has brought to the design studio great kind of skills and a great heart for this work, and so his contribution has been great.
But the thing that I found that I wasn't learning about there was the kind of development component of these, and how financing sources and financing mechanisms are created and entities are pulled together to move forward on a project. So I began working with the Biloxi Housing Authority that has a fairly robust and pretty creative development department that's willing to take on a lot of varied types of projects that are far outside of the scope of a traditional housing authority.
We here at the Housing Authority have worked with the Gulf Coast Community Design Studio since they formed right after Hurricane Katrina. And Seth was down there doing some work, and we got to know him a little bit. And we do a lot of development work here at the Housing Authority, especially since Hurricane Katrina, because we lost most of our housing stock. So we've been really busy with development work since then, almost 6 years. So having Seth in-house has just been incredible, because he's able to sit in the room with us and he hears us talk about the budgets. We're able to hear his ideas on design and say, we like it or we don't. He can say, you can't afford to do this, or you can, because he knows the numbers and the design. And so it's just been a really, really good partnership.
When the Biloxi Housing Authority decided to pursue this house project with Youth Build, they were operating off of Youth Build's older stock housing plans from the Midwest, which didn't respond to the same conditions that are present down here on the coast. So I had just begun working with the Housing Authority at that point on their development side. And this became the kind of first project where I was able to kind of straddle that design side and the development side. So the whole design process was this kind of back and forth between me acting as a designer and working with the kind of contractor to come up with numbers, and then working on the development side to see if those numbers were going to kind of plug into the pro forma and come out right side up.
Seth had been working with the Housing Authority and designed a very nice little home on stilts, we call it. And really from the first design he came up with, everybody liked it, and we just made a few little changes here and there, and it's been a very smooth process.
So I've been lucky to try to look at building projects and design projects and architecture projects from a lot of different angles in the last 3 years, and it's really changed the way that I think about how buildings and how communities and how cities can come together in a really cohesive way that makes sense, from both the kind of standpoint of a financer and from the standpoint of someone that's living within that community.